Good afternoon. Before we begin, I would like to introduce Vidia Sosa. She is our interpreter for this afternoon's webinar. She is from Community Language Cooperative, and she is going to get everything synchronized in English and Spanish, and then we'll begin. It is yours, Vidia. Thank you for joining us.
Thank you very much for having us here and for practicing language justice. My name is Vidia Sosa, and I am here with the Communal Language Co-op, and we are here to help create a space where everyone can participate and engage in the language of their heart or the language that they feel most comfortable in. We will use simultaneous interpretation to create this space. When I finish saying this in Spanish, we will turn on interpretation, and you will see a globe icon at the bottom of your screen that says interpretation. Please select your preferred language there. If you are in your tablet or in your phone, you can click on the three dots that says more and you can select your preferred language there. Hola, muy buenas tardes. Muchas gracias por tenernos aquí, por practicar la justicia del lenguaje. Mi nombre es Vidia Sosa y estoy aquí con la Community Language Co-op. Estamos aquí para ayudar a crear un espacio donde todos puedan participar e involucrarse en el idioma de su corazón o en el idioma en el que se sientan más cómodos. Usaremos la interpretación simultánea para crear este espacio. Cuando termine de decir esto, activaremos la interpretación y verá un icono de globo que dice interpretación. Por favor, seleccione su idioma preferido. Si está en su tablet o en su teléfono, le puede dar clic en los tres puntitos que dice más y ahí va a poder seleccionar su idioma preferido. Cualquier duda o pregunta me pueden escribir en el chat. Thank you very much. Please go ahead and turn on interpretation. Muchas gracias. Vamos a comenzar con la interpretación.
All right. Welcome. Welcome to the 2025 ballot issues presentation by the League of Women Voters of Boulder County. I am Judy Mattis-Dixon. I'm a volunteer with the League and the coordinator of the ballot issues team. Our panelists today include Ula Mertz, Deborah Hayes, Peggy Leach, and myself. Both Deborah and Peggy are past presidents of the League of Women Voters of Boulder County. As I introduced her earlier, Vidia Sosa will be interpreting, and managing this webinar is Stephanie Hine, and we thank her for this. For those who are not familiar with the League of Women Voters, we are a nonpartisan grassroots organization working to expand and protect voting rights. And we also work to ensure that everyone is represented in our democracy. Now, to remain nonpartisan, we do not support or oppose any political candidate or party. Although we're nonpartisan, we work to empower voters and defend democracy through advocacy, education, and litigation at the local, state, and national levels. This presentation will cover 9 issues: 2 state propositions, 2 Boulder County measures, 2 City of Boulder measures, 1 City of Lafayette measure, and 2 Louisville measures, in that order. Today's forum does not include outside speakers in favor or against any of the issues that we cover. So the way we'll do this is we will present an issue, take a few minutes to do that, and then we will explain it, and then we will take your questions. And the way that you do that is put your questions in the Q&A, and although you can put them in while we're addressing a particular issue, if a question comes to you later on something we've already addressed, no problem. Put it in the Q&A and we'll get to it. All right. So to get us started is Deborah Hayes, and she will be presenting State Proposition LL.
Thank you, Judy. This year we have two statewide proposals, LL and MM. Both concern our state's school lunch program, which is called Healthy School Meals for All. LL and MM were referred to us voters by the legislature. Both are statutory, that is, they are proposed laws, not constitutional amendments. Both require a majority yes vote to pass. Proposition LL proposes that the state retain and spend state tax revenue exceeding the estimate for Proposition FF, which is the current law. So what was Proposition FF? So there's a slide for that. Voters passed FF into law in 2022. It created the Healthy School Meals Program, which is funded by increased state income taxes on households with a federal taxable income of $300,000 a year or more. It decreased the deductions allowed on these higher incomes. The Healthy School Meals Program provides free school breakfasts and lunches to all students at participating public schools, regardless of family income. The program reimburses participating school meal providers. To qualify for the program, a school must also participate in the National School Lunch Program and receive federal meal funding. Boulder Valley School District and the St. Vrain Valley School District participate in the federal program and in the Colorado program and receive reimbursement. And as an aside, I can mention that families are still strongly encouraged to complete an application for free and reduced meals in order to access other benefits and for school funding purposes. Charter schools in our state, although they are part of public school districts, do not provide any meals. Now, in Colorado, we have the Tabor requirement in our Constitution, which requires tax proposals to estimate annual revenue. If revenue exceeds the estimate, the excess must be refunded to taxpayers unless taxpayers vote not to receive the refund. And we will see the Tabor influence and the tax revenue estimates several times in this webinar. The point is that Proposition FF in 2022 estimated the revenue too low. So what if next slide, I guess. What if LL passes? The revenue from the tax on higher incomes resulted in 12.4 million more revenue than estimated. If a majority of voters vote yes on LL, the state will keep and spend this $12.4 million already collected for the Healthy School Meals for All program. The income tax rate will not change for households with annual incomes of $300,000 or more. The program will continue providing free school meals to all students. the state will be able to fund some components of FF that have not yet been implemented because the state has not been able to spend the 12.4 million. These components are purchasing local Colorado produce and products, better employee wages, and technical assistance to help schools use basic nutritious ingredients instead of processed products. If LL fails, the state will refund the $12.4 million to households with these high annual incomes, $300,000 or more. The deduction limits will change as scheduled under state law. Those households will pay lower taxes. Less money will be available for school meals. The program will be reduced to serve meals only to underserved schools. Now, arguments on either side are presented in the State Blue Book, which you should have received in the mail. Those in favor of LL say, LL allows the state to regain revenue to support free school meals for all, promoting and providing all students access to meals, improves academic outcomes, eliminates stigma for low-income students, and reduces hunger. Those opposed to LL say, LL is effectively a tax increase in challenging economic times. The state should refund the money to affected taxpayers rather than provide meals to students, even if their families can afford to pay for them. So, are there any questions on LL? I guess there are none yet, and you can ask later if things occur to you. Now Peggy Leach will talk about Proposition MM.
Okay. I guess I'm on. Oh, there I am. All right, so Proposition MM would increase state taxes for school meals and food assistance programs, as opposed to just keeping the over-collected taxes on LL. This would increase state taxes again. Like Deborah said, it was placed on the ballot by the legislature, and it will pass with a majority vote. Okay, so you may remember almost a year ago that the state legislature was dealing with a $1.2 billion budget shortfall. And the Joint Budget Committee spent months working on balancing the budget. And one of the things that was causing a problem, not a major problem in the big scheme of things, but was that the money that was being collected for the Healthy Schools program through FF was not enough. There were more people participating than was anticipated, and inflation happened, and so it was the funding was not sufficient to sustain the program. So Proposition MM is designed to raise another $95 million per year to fund the program. The way it does this is currently those with adjusted gross income of $300,000 or more are limited to state tax deductions of $12,000 for single filers and $16,000 for joint filers. Proposition MM would further decrease the deductions to $1,000 for single or $2,000 for joint. Again, this is for taxpayers with adjusted gross income of $300,000 or more. And an estimated average cost for those taxpayers is $486 per year. So the revenue would fund the free school meals, and some of the previously approved measures would be implemented, such as local food purchasing, higher wages, and technical assistance. And this time, if there's a surplus, it is designated to go to the SNAP program, which is the Supplemental Nutrition Assistance Program. Okay, next slide. Okay, so if it fails, then the state income tax for households with annual income over 300,000 will not change. And the state will only be required to reimburse local school food authorities in school districts with the highest concentrations of poverty. So it will be dramatically reduced if this doesn't pass. Those in favor say that the Healthy Meals Program has been more highly utilized than anticipated, demonstrating the strong need for a universal free school meal program. And those opposed say the program provides food to kids who do not need it or eat it, wasting both money and food. Are there any questions on Proposition MM? All right, I guess we'll move on and see if we get any later. Okay, so now we're moving to Boulder County, and I will be covering the first one, which is Boulder County 1A, Open Space Sales Tax and Use Tax Extension. So that's on the next slide. Okay, so this was placed on the ballot by the county commissioners, and it extends an existing 0.15% sales and use tax in perpetuity. It was set to expire on December 31st, 2030, and is for acquiring, improving, managing, and maintaining open space and agricultural lands as the original tax was. And the tax is 1.5 cents on a $10 purchase. Now, I'll just explain that the existing tax was originally approved by voters in November 2010 to expire in 20 years, which would be 2030. And they're now asking for it to be extended in perpetuity. One of the reasons is that in recent years, funding for open space staffing has shifted from the general fund to revenues from the open space taxes. So as we've acquired more open space, now there's more and more maintenance and planning and all that type of stuff. So there's more staff involved. And so now the open space taxes are funding that instead of the general fund. Total taxes for open space at the county level, there are 4 taxes, and it adds up to 4.75 cents on a $10 purchase. This particular tax that's being extended is 1.5 cents on a $10 purchase. So those in favor say that if this tax expires, there will be a dramatic drop-off in revenues starting in 2031. And those opposed say this ballot request should be delayed for another year. There has been no community outreach to ensure that a tax in perpetuity is carefully considered. So are there any questions on Boulder County issue 1A? All right, so we'll move on, and we might hear some questions later. So now we'll hear from Deborah Hayes on ballot issue 1B.
Thank you, Peggy. The county issue 1B proposes mental and behavioral health sales and use tax and revenue change. 1B is proposing a new sales and use tax of 0.15% for 3 years, 2026 to 2028. The tax amounts, as with the open space, 1.5 cents on a $10 purchase. Boulder County's total sales tax is currently 1.85%. So if 1B passes, the rate will be 2% for the next 3 years. Revenue is estimated at 13.8 million. Your ballot will say 15 million, but that higher figure is to provide a cushion for Tabor. So if they bring in if they bring in a little more than 13.8, they won't have to refund it. It wouldn't bring up to 15 million. If 1B passed, it would be our first revenue stream dedicated to behavioral health services. 1B is a response to the impending loss of federal and state funding of our county's programs. Behavioral health services are complex and can become fragmented. They involve a range of medical issues and law enforcement issues. Currently, Boulder County's behavioral health services are provided by the Public Health Department, Community Services, Human Services, the Sheriff's Office, and the District Attorney's Office. The county can only provide limited funding out of the county budget. It relies on state and federal grants. Grants have proven insufficient and they are unstable. They only fund specific programs. That has led to gaps in services. And now many state and federal funds are slated to be discontinued. For instance, the county had money under the American Rescue Plan Act, ARPA. The county dedicated over $10 million to 2 successful behavioral health programs. One is called CAT, Community Assistance and Treatment Team, and the other is called Well Mind Connection. But now ARPA will expire next year. And then also nonprofit providers in the county like Clinica and Salud will see a significant decline in Medicaid reimbursement. Leadership across Boulder County has long envisioned a dedicated tax as a sustainable funding source. The 2023 Boulder County Behavioral Health Roadmap and related studies have analyzed the funding needs and recommended a dedicated tax. The studies have outlined how a dedicated tax revenue would best be spent. 5 core services have been identified to create a continuum of care at appropriate levels in a variety of settings. These core services are, first, navigation, that is, finding appropriate services, navigating the system. Number 2, prevention and early intervention. 3, crisis response and intervention. 4, treatment. And finally, number 5, recovery support. Polling in 2024 showed between 79% and 90% support for the 5 core services and their components. These 5 core services are in the ballot language, but slightly reworded and in a different order. Like navigation is at the end instead of the beginning. I'll read what our ballots say. If 1B passes, the revenue will be used for, quote, addressing unmet needs of youth, adults, families, unhoused individuals, and older adults in Boulder County with or at risk of mental health and substance use disorders, unquote. And how will it address these needs? Quote, by providing mental health crisis services, suicide prevention and intervention, mental health and substance use prevention, treatment and recovery, and by providing treatment services for unhoused individuals, and by providing assistance finding appropriate services through community-based organizations, governmental entities, and other options, unquote. So that's what that's what we are voting on. Those in favor of 1B say, the need for additional mental health services in Boulder County is dire. Boulder County has not been able to fund mental health services adequately. Demand is expected to grow even as federal funding declines. And secondly, community health assessment surveys show high rates of depression and suicide in Boulder County, plus inadequate access to services. 3, 2 successful county programs, the CAT and the Well-Mind Connection, may not survive when ARPA funding expires. And 4, the Boulder County Behavioral Health Behavioral Health Roadmap recommended the establishment of a dedicated tax as a stable funding source. And finally, the tax expires in 3 years, and its effectiveness can be evaluated. Those opposed to 1B say, the ballot issue is rushed. More community input is needed, as well as concrete priorities on how the money is going to be spent. Secondly, 1B perpetuates the status quo, which does not improve the efficacy of mental health services. And 3, we are already taxed enough. Government should only provide basic services, police, fire, and roads. Number 4, increasing these services only attracts more transients and homeless people. And 5, the tax increase will be an additional burden for people on a fixed income or low income. And now we'll poise for questions. A little pause. I don't believe we have listeners not on the committee, but if you were watching the video, we'll tell you later how to get in touch with us with your questions. Now we turn to the City of Boulder issues, and Ulla Meritz will talk about issue 2A.
All right. So thank you. So here are the main points for issue 2A in the City of Boulder. The ballot issue was placed on the ballot by City Council. So this year there are no citizens proposed ballots. What does the proposal do? It proposes to lift the expiration of the current CCRS tax on 12/31/2036. So what that means is it makes the CCRS tax permanent. So just to mention, it's the Community, Culture, Resilience, and Safety tax that's generally referred to as CCRS. A special provision of this tax is that 10% will fund a grant pool for nonprofit projects. What does it mean for you? It will be 3 cents on a $100 purchase. So when you read the ballot measure, it lists examples of capital improvements that the tax would continue to fund and potential infrastructure projects it may fund in the future. And again, 10% of the revenue stream will be dedicated for nonprofit organizations. We have actually paid the CCRS tax since 2014, which means for over 10 years, 0.3% of sales tax have been collected for these infrastructure improvements. Since 2014, this tax has been extended twice. Once on 2017, and then again, voters approved an extension with the exact same terms in 2021. What then this proposal does, it makes it permanent and in perpetuity, though the tax currently would not expire until 12/31/2036. The city expects that this tax will raise approximately 15 million annually. In a survey of 400 likely voters earlier this year, 64% supported an indefinite extension of the tax, and 23% were opposed. And 13% were unsure or did not have an opinion. So, what do people say who are in favor of extending the CCRS tax in perpetuity? The revenue from the CCRS tax is a critical source of funding for essential city services, as they list here, roads, paths, bike lanes, trails, and sidewalk enhancements, recreation center renovations and replacements, snow and ice response, parks and playground refurbishments, fire and police station renovations and replacements, critical bridge replacements, and open space trail and trailhead improvements. This, what I just read, is literally in the ballot measure. So the city needs these funds to address over 380 million in capital improvement needs. And to a large degree, these are needs that have not been addressed in the past. And again, as it's an extension and in perpetuity, the tax we've paid since 2014, so there are no additional taxes in that sense. People who are opposed to the ballot measure say if the projects are priorities, they should be funded through the general fund, not through sales tax. The existing CCRS tax does not expire until 2036. Therefore, there is no need for this question to be on the ballot. So are there any questions related to the City of Boulder ballot measure 2A? If there are not, then I will pass on the presentation to Judy, who will talk about the City of Boulder ballot measure 2B.
Thank you, Ulla. I'm sorry. So 2B is very related to 2A. It is about the community culture, community resilience, and safety tax. It is about increasing the debt authorization. So this question asks voters, it's placed on the ballot by City Council as well, asks voters to approve an increase from 110 million to 262 million in principal, with a maximum repayment cost of up to 350 million principal and interest. And the debt is payable solely through the CCRS tax. That means that 2A must pass, and then 2B must pass in order for this to go into effect. Voters must approve both. As Ulla indicated, the funds are used for capital improvement projects and private nonprofit projects that serve the citizens of Boulder. And in the ballot language, there's a list of these, and I'll just give you a snapshot here. Roads, paths, bike lanes, trails, sidewalks, rec center improvements, snow and ice response, parks, playgrounds, fire and police station renovations or replacements, bridges, and open space. So there is that's probably the list in the ballot language. Okay, so if voters approve this question, then it allows the city to increase the debt, and that means that the proposal that the city can accelerate the capital improvements. This proposal does not increase taxes. So again, by way of background, the tax was passed in 2014. In 2017, when voters approved the continuation of the tax, they also approved the issuance of bonds. Okay. In 2021, voters approved the continuation of the issuance of these bonds, and now voters are being asked to increase the bond debt or increase the debt. By way of background, by increasing the debt, the city could address potential financial uncertainty from the instability in federal funding and due to the slowing of sales tax revenue, as the city would have the flexibility to accelerate these improvements. Now, the city currently has $380 to $400 million in unfunded needs. Yeah, the CRS tax, as Ula indicated, the projections are $15 million per year. This measure, if passed, allows the debt schedule to be extended from its current 10 years to 30 years. And the upper limit of the $262 million is based on a 30-year term using projected interest rates and the current projections of the CCRS tax, which are currently, as I said, at $15 million per year. So excuse me, those in favor say that this proposal could save money as projects could be completed earlier, avoiding higher construction costs over time. Those opposed say that funding projects on a pay-as-you-go basis may be more prudent in terms of facing the potential financial insecurity that we're facing today. In a survey earlier this year of 400 likely voters, the results were that 64% were in favor, 23% opposed, and 13% unsure. Questions about this measure before I go on to Lafayette? Seeing none, let's move on to the City of Lafayette. This is a proposal for funding rec center improvements, recreation center improvements, a new civic center, and service center improvements. It is proposed by council, asking the voters to approve a debt increase of $74 million with costs not to exceed, repayment costs not to exceed $120 million, principal and interest. And the debt would be repaid through a temporary increase in property tax. This means that for a home valued at $712,000, average home value in Lafayette, this would amount to $23 per month, or about $276 per year for an estimated 20 years. So this measure asks for funding for renovations of the Bob L. Berger Recreation Center. And as I said, construction of a new center and repairs for the Public Service Center. The Recreation Center, the costs for that are estimated at $34 million. For a new Civic Center, which is being proposed to be built in Old Town Louisville on land owned by the city, the cost is $34 million. And the renovations and repairs for the Service Center, the cost is $6 million. So, by way of background, the Recreation Center is let me say just a few more things about what it would do before I go into the background. This proposes to expand the aquatics amenities at the rec center and expands space for fitness, for programs for older adults, preschoolers, and everyone in the community. The new Civic Center, they're aiming for more accessibility, including ADA accessibility, enhanced public services, a better place for the municipal court, better community space, and space to support city services. The staff service center renovations are really focused on improving delivery of key city services, such as snow removal, utility repairs, and maintenance of parks, streets, and open space. So by way of background, only 0.46% of the city's budget, which is an current estimate of $560,000, is available for city maintenance in approximately 20 city-owned buildings. So while the structure of the recreation center is usable, the 35-year-old aquatics complex has reached the end of its life, meaning that there have been significant leaks, mechanical failures, etc., resulting in closures. City Hall is 4 years old and is not optimized for energy efficiency or accessibility or public safety. The mechanical breakdowns are costly or impossible to repair in the building. The service center is 52 years old, and it can no longer accommodate all of the large equipment that the city uses, including fire engines. And so they're wanting to address better space for repairs so that there's less downtime, enhanced space for employees, and the ability to get key services done without duplication by putting things all in one place. Okay, those in favor say that this proposal saves money over time, as construction costs are expected to continue to increase. Those opposed say that it would be preferable to vote on each of these three things, the rec center, the new civic center, and the service center, separately. According to the results of community engagement earlier this year, let me look this up so I don't get it wrong. 86% were in support of the rec center renovations and expansion. 78% were in support of the service center renovations and improvements, and 49% were in favor of a new civic center. All right, questions on this one? And seeing none, I'm going to turn it back to Peggy Leach for the City of Louisville.
Thank you, Judy. In Louisville, there are two ballot issues that are brought forward in the same way. And that is that there was a group of citizens that collected enough signatures to advance the initiatives to City Council. And then City Council could either adopt as an ordinance or refer to the voters. And the City Council chose to refer to the voters. So this particular one proposes amending Louisville's municipal code to prohibit residential rezoning in 3 areas within Louisville, unless the development includes 30% on-site deed-restricted affordable housing for households at or below 80% of the area median income. So the 3 areas in the ballot language are currently zoned as commercial, and this initiative would prohibit rezoning as residential unless it includes the 30% affordable housing. The 3 areas are Centennial Valley, which is near the interchange of US 36 and McCaslin Boulevard, Red Tail Ridge, which is a 389-acre property north of US 36 and west of Northwest Parkway, or the old storage tech site, and the current Avista Hospital site. Avista is expected to build a new replacement hospital on the Red Tail Ridge site, which would mean that then there would be a vacancy at the Avista Hospital site. Louisville is currently in the process of updating its comprehensive plan to be wrapped up soon, and the Red Tail Ridge area and the Centennial Valley area have been identified in that process as possible areas for mixed use and mid or high density housing. Those in favor say that without this measure, developers will likely build only market rate and high profit luxury units. And those opposed say that it undermines Louisville's existing affordable housing requirements, strips Louisville's flexibility to negotiate better housing deals, and locks in rules that cannot be changed for years. Are there any questions on issue 300? Okay, I'll move on to issue 301. So that is about impact fees. And it was the same process where it went to City Council and they're referring it to the voters. So it proposes amending Louisville's municipal code to increase the categories of capital facilities for which impact fees are imposed for new developments. Currently, Louisville imposes impact fees to offset increased demand for facilities including libraries, transportation, and parks and trails. This initiative would increase the categories to also include open space, emergency services, municipal buildings, water, affordable housing, among others. This initiative would also require a new impact fee study by June 1st of next year, and updated studies every 5 years, and require the formation of an impact fee liaison committee to advise city staff and consultants. So an existing impact fee study was completed by an independent entity in 2017, and the municipal code requires the review of impact fees at least every 5 years. Those in favor say that this guarantees that developers pay a proportionate share for infrastructure directly related to their development, so the burden does not fall solely on Louisville residents. And those opposed say that Louisville already requires developers to pay for growth through extensive impact fees, tap fees, permits, and city taxes. Are there any questions on question 301 in Louisville? Okay, well, now we'll go to Ula for closing remarks.
All right. In closing, a huge thank you goes out to our 2025 election sponsors, without which we could not provide these special programs. Elevations Credit Union, Christina's Lingerie, Kaplan and Ernest, attorneys at law, and Inspire Hair and Skin. Please note a video of this presentation will be available on the League of Women Voters Boulder County website, lwvbc.org, and at vote411.org, which is the League's complete online voters guide. Vote411.org gives you, besides ballot issue analysis, information about all the candidates for local office in Boulder County and their responses to questions curated by the League. We encourage the public to visit lwvbc.org for more information on all other upcoming events. I want to acknowledge all the volunteers that contributed their time to make this informational session possible. Judy Dixon, Peggy Leach, Deborah Hayes, Linda Hultman, Catherine Coleman, Stephanie Hine, and myself included. Thank you for donating your time and effort. And finally, I would like to thank you, the viewer of this presentation. As a League member, I like to stress the importance that elections are our chance to stand up for what matters most to us and to have an impact on the issues that affect us, especially issues impacting our communities, our families, our loved ones, and our future. The League of Women Voters believes in empowering you, the voter, with straightforward information so your voice will be heard. Thank you for attending this presentation and being an informed voter. Oops. I pass this